Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome back to another edition of Track Walk in MX Simulator, where today we're going to be playing a track called Toxic Sand MX by Yannick MX15 on the forums, which I believe is Yannick Bloom. He just quickly said a little note about this track where he said he's had this crazy-looking track laying around in his folder for years now. It is still fun to ride, so he thought, why not release it? And crazy-looking track is, I feel like, the easiest, simplest descriptor that you could put out about this track, but beyond that, it is maybe one of the more unique tracks that I've seen ever produced. We've had like some Dragon Ball Z tracks, we've had Rainbow Road, but I feel like a lot of those tracks when they get made, they're like actually a certain theme that they're going for. I feel like this is just like, like pardon the pun I guess, but like an acid trip a little bit, because it's just wild neon yellow and green colors with purple on the ground, and then you have this big like volcano tree tentacle thing that goes through the whole map that you go under and over and kind of through a little bit. So I don't even know like where you begin to come up with an idea like this, Yannick, but kudos to you for coming up with the idea and deciding to build a track off of it. And then the track itself is actually quite fun. Like, it's not a bad track mixed together with weird environment or anything like that. It's actually a pretty good fun track that like I could totally see one of those like this is a track that I could see being raced legitimately for some sort of event in MX Simulator, but I don't know that it would be raced because the aesthetics of it are a little bit wild for an MX Simulator game, but I like that sometimes just because it breaks the mold of the norm. I feel like I've said this many times in my track walk videos before that I like stuff that is a little bit off the wall, a little bit different. We get the same pro national tracks and supercross tracks and all this stuff over and over again. So even though it is a simulator, I like to see some of the unique aspects that this game has to offer. And this is one of them where you can, I don't know, turn up the contrasty scale and make everything, you know, contrast and opposite colors. And then before you know it, you have a acidic-y neon track that is pretty much just really, really wild to ride. So anyway, felt like I should do it for a track walk because it's a fun track, but also the environments are eye-popping enough that you guys probably clicked on this video and you're like, what in the heck is this? I didn't even actually see this. This looks like it's a little like transfer jump right here. To where? I don't know. It looks like it was just a little hipper over the finish line. Kind of cool. I also we have the Thor Tactic Acid gear. So I felt like that just made sense to wear on a Toxic Sand MX track. And I feel like it goes well with the poppy yellow colors of the sky and the neon pink stuff on the ground. I'll try to like see if I could find any like Easter eggy stuff around the map, but really haven't found much other than just, you know, the typical humongous lava tree that goes through the entire track. And I'd be curious to know like if he modeled that himself or if that's like a ripped model from something or what, because like it's really interesting how it goes through the whole track. You can't ride on it. Like, I'll go over to this one real quick and yeah, just pop right through it, no biggie. And all of them are like that, so it doesn't really make a difference where I go. I just go right through it. But it seriously goes like all the way around the track as one big object, and then it goes off the map as well. If I get to the other side in any time in this video, I'll show you what I mean by that. Just get off of the berm. But like it goes off the side of the map and then disappears like kind of into the abyss below. And below so when you make a sky box in the game, you have basically 6 areas of the box that you have to fill. So you have, you know, left, right, forward, back, and top and bottom. And so this sky box, he has the bottom is just like a red blob down there, which I assume is meant to be lava. But you can see this giant tree thing goes all the way off the outskirts of the map and around, and it's just wild, man. Like, and then so I assume what he did then is probably laid this thing down and then built a track around it, because I don't know how else you would get it to flow through this the way it is. I mean, unless he built it after the fact and laid it out specifically to flow around the track the way it is. But again, I don't know. I mean, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Overall, I think it's just a cool little aesthetic to add to the track to make it pop even that much more so than the yellow and the purple and all that stuff that is already on the track. And then you have a giant lava tree. I don't know if that's what it is. Someone might correct me and be like, idiot, that's meant to be like a snake or I don't know, something like that. But it's certainly some sort of large root looking thing that is made up of yellow and orange and red and black. So I assume lava, but I could be wrong. So anyway, back to the track a little bit. Like I said, it's a very well put together track in my opinion. It is a sandy base, so when you're playing it, you'll feel that roll resistance in the traction trying to hold you back a little bit. And because of that, he's also included some very stereotypical sandy features, which is, you know, a lot of rollers, a lot of just kind of like, you know, peaked out notchy sand berms and stuff like that. Like this corner right here, you come into it and everything kind of pushes out wide. Like the biggest part of the berm is the exit of the corner, which is kind of typical anyway of like a rut that is made in MX Simulator, but specifically in sand, obviously, when you roll into a corner, it starts small and gets bigger by the end based on the way that like the riders lay into the corner and stuff like that. So I feel that he's nailed that aspect of it quite well. It works very well as a sand track in my opinion, even though it's probably a little bit jumpier than most sand tracks like could or should be. Because how are you going to build this many good jumps out of some pretty gnarly sand? But I feel like it works just because of this aesthetic. Like it's okay to have a really jumpy sand track. It doesn't have to be over realistic. It can be kind of, you know, a hybrid between jumpy and sandy and fast and flowy, but also kind of a little bit more tech as well. It's a good mix. I think it ties in with the aesthetic well, like I said, and then makes just kind of like a complete track that feels like it belongs, really. It doesn't feel underdone or really overdone. There's not massive hits anywhere. You know, like there's a big double right here. There's a couple tables that are pretty peaky, but I don't think of those as like unrealistically huge hits. And you could see them in sand. I just don't think you would see them consistently, like corner after corner after corner in a sandy track. So that's why I would say that to me, it feels maybe a little bit overdone in terms of a sand track, but then you tie in the aesthetic and you're like, oh no, okay, that's, you know, that makes a lot more sense as to why it's jumpy and weird and quirky like that. But yeah, like I said, it flows together well. It's got options too, which is always a good thing as a track creator to try to make happen. Like you have these insides that you could take here. You could go, I'm gonna blow this, but you could go outside, step on, step off through this section. I've been like over, I've tripled it a couple times, like definitely a couple different areas to go. But then when you tie into the more main sections, like, yeah, it's probably like more 1 or 2 main lines. You have the tables and stuff like this. These are really just kind of probably meant to be like scrubbed or whipped off of a little bit, but not really at the point where I'm able to scrub in the sand. That one wasn't too bad. It's a nice little cheeky scrub to the downside. This actually might be a sub 2. Let's see what we got. There we go, 155.6. There we go. Putting even a little burner down mid-video. I didn't even know it. Feeling pretty confident lately in Sim 2. I don't know what it is. I got a new controller a couple months ago, and maybe that's turned my whole game plan around, but I feel like I'm actually flowing in the game again and looking half decent. Might be a cheeky race or two in store before the year is done. But we'll see. See how it goes. Like this section right here. That is such a fun, unique feeling on any track when you have that like kind of like slow speed pop off the top that just sends you down into the valley. Like, and he does it perfect too, where it's right out of the corner, so you really can't get too much speed. Like, I'm sure if you went wide right there, you could carry too much speed and just like launch well down into the gully and go down. But if you hit that inside rut, it is perfect. Like you hit that rut almost like dead on perfect and still not OJ down into that little canyon. Such a fun feeling, and then he like pops back out with that little triple, and then the rest of the section flows well. He's got the rollers, he's got the tables, like I said, the split options. It just is a good track. And, you know, like he said in his description, he thought it was a fun track. Like, it's a fun track that has been sitting in his folder and felt like he needed to release it, so good on him. He released it, put it out there for us to enjoy. Yeah, so not too much more else to say other than that. So that is another little edition of Track Walk in MX Simulator. If you guys want to download this track for yourself and play it and have a grandioso time trying to feel a little bit above and beyond, I guess, in this game, I'll include the link in the description below, as always, so you guys can download it, try it out for yourself. If you have any questions or comments about how to download it or anything else of that sort, I'm always happy to answer them and try to get back to you as quickly as possible if you have any concerns in the comments. But yeah, this will do it for another edition of Track Walk in MX Simulator, playing Toxic Sand MX by Yannick MX15, aka Yannick Bloom. And thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you in the next one. So long for now.